Are you all right, Lee? You're sounding a wee bit
No,
croaky on us.
I had a little bit of a, not a sore, it's not sore, it's just a husky kind of, I don't know.
I was listening to you on the way into work today, and I like it. But
No.
you couldn't stick with it. Like, you probably need to
No, but
get it better.
I'm hard enough to listen to on the radio, never mind with a big groany voice, you know.
All right, that's the invite to text in and say how great Lee Gooch is on the radio.
Oh, thanks very much,
Yeah,
and thanks for all your texts. No, I'm only joking. But sure, it's grand. You know, I think it's doing the rounds, like, you know. But
is, yeah.
I'm on the.
There's bits and bobs going around. All right, Lee, have a great
Good
day
luck.
anyway.
Good luck
Hopefully
today.
you're all back to great form again tomorrow. All right, it is the 9 till noon show right now. It's time for news update, and it's Good Morning, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. It's emerged that it cost Donegal County Council around €3,000 to hold a meeting in the Ora Leisure Centre in Letterkenny. Full council meetings have been held in the facility since May 2020 to comply with social distancing regulations. In response to a question from Councillor Frank McBurshie, the local authority cited the significant technical setup and operation during meetings and required amplification system as the source of the costs. Concerns have been raised over the number of planning enforcement notices being issued in Donegal. There are currently 1,198 outstanding enforcement notices, 291 in Letterkenny, 292 in Inishowen and 257 in Glenties. The remaining notices have been issued in other municipal districts of the county. Councillor Jerry McMonigal says given the high number of enforcement notices, extra resources are needed to deal with them.
I've asked the Chief Executive to look at ways and means that we can get this down or prevent enforcement orders having to be used, i.e. educate people better about the planning regulations. But if need be, that we need to get extra staff and resources for our planning department, which is under extreme pressure at the minute.
Crunch talks will take place today aimed at reducing emissions in the agriculture sector. Climate Action Minister Eamon Ryan will meet with Agriculture Minister Charlie McConlogue in a bid to hammer out an agreement. Government last year set out plans for a 22 to 30% cut in the sector's emissions by 2030. However, there's disagreement between the Green Party and its coalition colleagues on what the exact figure should be. Junior Agriculture Minister and Green Party Senator Pippa Hackett says agriculture needs to play its part as the country seeks to cut emissions.
We have a huge challenge ahead in terms of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions across the economy. I mean, the big sectors are energy, our transport and agriculture. It's really one big jigsaw, and it's essential that we, get the jigsaw pieces in the right places. And certainly by doing that, we must ensure that we bring the farming community with us, and to do so in a way that strengthens farm incomes and builds resilience for the future.
A design team is expected to be appointed in September to commence the design stage of the new Cleary Centre in Donegal Town. €100,000 in capital funding has been allocated to progress the design. The new facility will provide day services for adults with intellectual disabilities from 18 years up across South Donegal. The HSE says it will continue to engage with service users and their families at each stage of the process. And for weather now, a mostly cloudy morning with the chance of the odd shower. Some sunny spells will develop later with highest temperatures of 15 to 19 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Holiday envy. It's a real thing. Feeling a bit jealous as the neighbours pack for their hollybobs. Ah, the fun they'll have. The sun they'll soak up as they pack kayaks, a 32-inch TV, washer dryer, fridge, into their white van. It's the neighbours who should have holiday envy of your phone watch alarm as you leave all your belongings at home and just take a carry-on. Protect your home and your pride. Get a phone watch alarm system installed for just €99 at phonewatch.ie. Offer ends July 31st. Monitoring fees apply.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show at 4 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 20th of July. How are you keeping? It's good to be back, and thanks to Donal, who stood in for the last week. What a week it was, wasn't it? A lot of talk about the weather. And then we saw the real impacts of that weather. Not here particularly, but certainly our nearest neighbours, what we're seeing over in London. They really got a hammering over there. Any of you over there, by the way, tell us what it was like. 086 60 25,000. Of course, it would be 00353 86 60 25,000. We've loads to talk about on the show, but we want your involvement as well. You call 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. If you want to watch the programme, go onto our website, highlandradio.com. Actually, the link might not be there because I forgot to put it there. But anyway, it's there somewhere if you want to dig around. And also, you can watch us directly on our social medias, Highland Radio Ireland on YouTube. Or you can go to our Facebook page, Highland Radio News and Sport. So what have I missed? I kind of, to some extent, did switch off a little bit from what's going on, but still loads of interaction with people on social media and what have you. So I don't think I'm that far behind. Let's talk about the Inish Times now. And you would wonder, the way things are going with Ulster Bank, KCB Bank's already a cashless bank. But with Ulster Bank leaving the market, and over half of you Ulster Bank customers still haven't opened up another account yet, by the way, and they're sending you the emails and the texts, but you haven't done it yet because the latest figures suggest same. But of course, now we have AIB banks going cashless. A lot of people are using sort of like cashless. They're not truly cashless, but branchless and cashless banks like Revolut and others. And it does seem the direction of traffic where cash is going to become not widely used. Many people already not using it. But there are people who are very keen to see it retained. I think most young people, I don't think really they deal in cash anymore. And lots of people like myself, not so young, I very rarely have any cash, but I do know it's incredibly important to a lot of people. The banks closing or becoming cashless, big headache, I'd imagine, for businesses as well. But for those as well who don't necessarily trust banks and want to have cash in their hand, and we all know those people as well. So I'm sure the AIB announcement, which I'll get to in a moment, impacts some of you, whether it's you're a private, a personal customer or a business banker. But anyway, Inish owns 2 AIB branches are set to go cashless later this year. It's been confirmed. This is in the Inish Times with a focus on the peninsula, of course. The decision to go cashless is a result of what the bank has claimed as declining demand for these services. Letterkenny and Donegal Town will be the only branches in Donegal that will continue to provide a full cash service. I think Ballyshannon also going cashless. On to the Donegal Post now, and an innovative housing development driven by the determination of the late Father James McDire in Glencolmkill 50 years ago could be a model for today's housing crisis. But is there anyone around today with the famous priest's vision, tenacity and charisma? That's the question raised by one resident of Father James McDire Terrace, Paddy Beg Gillespie. He believes that, as was the case 50 years ago, young people in the rural village are being neglected by the government and the local authority when it comes to housing. We need another Father McDire, said Mr. Gillespie. And that kind of, I think, echoes calls we had from an Ardra listener. Not so long, well, quite a while ago, over a month ago or something along those lines, who said that, we need to get back to communities building housing and drawing down the money down off the council or whomever it might be. But that might be the future. Sometimes you have to grab the bull by the horns and do this stuff yourself. Right, speaking of housing, the Irish Times tells us that ministers have been told there's no indication the number of Ukrainians arriving into the state will stop and could stay at the current elevated level for the rest of this year. The Cabinet was told an average of 1,400 people are now arriving from Ukraine every week, with more than 40,000 fleeing the war in Ukraine and seeking protection in the state to date. A briefing document prepared for ministers before they signed off on reforms to visa exemption laws for refugees said there is no indication the inflow of Ukrainians seeking refugees will cease in the coming months, and many stay at current inflow levels for the remainder of 2022. Now, we can't have a situation, and we saw it recently, and I believe it was discussed on this programme, I dipped in and out, whereby you have groups of individuals, not necessarily from Ukraine or wherever they are, being put into one house in one area. It's just not an appropriate response from the state, from the council, from whomever it might be. And I think we need to be forthright with people saying, if you are coming here, the reality is this is what we have to offer as well, because I imagine as much of the terror they are escaping, they might be coming here with unrealistic expectations of what can be agreed. At the moment, it's tented villages and what have you. The Irish Times, the government must take immediate steps to prepare for the consequences of disruptive climate change. Ministers will be warned today as heat waves with record temperatures and wildfires continue to plague Europe and the UK. And again, it's like everything, talking about cash, it's divisive and it's political. The climate, my word, it's divisive and political. People claiming nothing's happening. Why are you making a big deal about it? I agree, to be honest with you. I'll go as far as to say, I think and I said this privately, as soon as there was the threat of good weather, we had the skin cancer adverts, we had the water safety adverts, and we had the don't do this and don't do that adverts. It felt a bit over the top for me. I know it's really important and the message has to be gotten out there. But it was like, right, we've a bit of good weather to look forward to. And then all of a sudden bombarded with, hold on, you don't enjoy it too much, because it's so bloody dangerous. So I understand that we have to talk about things like to keep ourselves safe. But it was OTT, I think, right across the board for the most part. And I think, we need to trust people to give the advice once or whatever it might be. And then people can take it on board or not, up to them, but not to drive fear into people, as was seen. I was watching some of the BBC and it was like, it's crazy. But another element of it, which you cannot be denied, I don't think anyway, and it's open for discussion, is the fact that the climate is changing. Whatever is doing it is changing. We're seeing record temperatures. We are living, and we're going to get it too. It got up as far as, South and East England. We will be experiencing 35, 40 degrees here. And people go, oh, well, sure, it's only a bit of heat. What's the big deal? I go to Spain, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. But Spain has swimming pools. It's got air conditioning. We don't have that. Our cities don't have that. Older people, younger people can't regulate their own temperatures as well as some people can. And it's extreme heat is very dangerous if you're not prepared for it in a house that doesn't have the facilities designed to help you get through such a spell. Right, so I think that's something that we are going to have to look at. I mean, we are going to have to look at roads, okay, because roads have to be built differently in countries with higher temperatures, and we've seen, roads melting and stuff like that in South England. So there's something coming down the tracks that we can't ignore, but I just hope the things that we have to do doesn't just get caught up in this divisive situation that we find ourselves in terms of discussing things like cash, vaccines, climate change. And I'm not grouping them all in together. I'm just describing those things as things that split us down the middle. But anyway, the government must take immediate steps to prepare for the consequences of disruptive climate change. Ministers will be warned today. The Climate Change Advisory Council, an independent body which advises the government on climate matters, will today issue an opinion on the government's plan to adapt to climate change and say that while a solid foundation has been put in place, more needs to be done urgently to prepare for the changes that a warming climate will bring. But at the same time, because there's a lack of gas, we're going to be ramping up right across Europe solid fuel burning to generate electricity and what have you. It kind of makes a mockery of the carbon charges, the carbon taxes that we're paying at the moment, doesn't it, really? I think they need to come up with a workable plan, and for it to be fair on people and not contradictory to government policy and what's happening around the world. The taxman might have some money that could be in your pocket. I did this some time ago. I thought my tax affairs aren't particularly complicated. I'm just a PAYE worker, by the way. But my tax affairs aren't particularly complicated. But I contacted one of these companies that checks to see if you've overpaid tax. And I think I got a check for €3,000 or something in the post. And I can tell you at the time it was very much needed. But anyway, households have been urged to check the income tax they are paying after it emerged that hundreds of thousands of you out there are overpaying on their PAYE income every year. As the cost of living crisis puts ever more pressure on families, it can be revealed that a typical taxpayer could be missing out on around $600 each per year. Over the course of the last 3 years, just over 1 million taxpayers overpaid revenue to the tune of $620 million. Last year alone, 450,000 taxpayers overpaid by 300 million, an average around €660 each. Now, we're all struggling. We're all seeing what's going on here, so we don't want to be overpaying. Maybe it's time to get a tax expert on as well, again, to talk about where we can be claiming monies back or saving some money for ourselves. Right, the Irish Daily Mail today, uproar over Green's plan to cull cows. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. The continent, Europe, is looking to start increasing again its burning of oil and coal to generate heat, and now we're talking about culling cows. I think a lot of people look at that and go, there's something going on here. Well, Green Party leader Eamon Ryan's facing a fresh backlash from rural TDs over plans for a reduction of the national herd. The coalition is in turmoil as Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael backbenchers from rural areas last night rebelled against Mr Ryan's desire to impose carbon emission reduction targets of up to 30,000 on agriculture. One rural senator told the Mail that such a reduction would have a huge economic impact across rural Ireland. Last year, KPMG a report said that up to 1.3 million cattle could have to be culled. Okay, what do you think about that? The Irish Star this morning, politicians will be paid thousands of euro a month this summer for travel expenses to the Dáil. There's a slight plot hole in this story, though. The Dáil's not sitting. TDs will be paid an average of €5,000 each in travel expenses during their holidays, while the rest of the country struggles with the cost of living. These can be claimed by deputies who live furthest away from Leinster House, despite the fact that politicians don't have to travel to the Dublin base when the Parliament isn't in session. The Dáil finishes up its current session last Thursday and will not return again until September 14th. August-September. That's a 8 weeks holiday. Nice one. However, TDs and senators will continue to pull completely unvouched travel and accommodation expenses during the annual summer recess. TDs are paid from $9,000. Do you know what they should do? Don't give them back. Show leadership. Send an email out. Post on your social media. Do you know what? With everything that's going on in this country, I'm not going to claim my $5,000 of expenses for the 2 months I'm not at work. Show a bit of solidarity with us because it's crazy. It seems crazy anyway, especially as people struggle. The Sun today, the next leader of Fianna Fáil must come from Dublin, a former party rebel has said. And this makes Darragh O'Brien and Jim O'Callaghan clear front runners, according to independent TD Mark McSharry. It would be some crack, I think, for Fianna Fáil if Darragh O'Brien became the leader of Fianna Fáil. Last week, Kilkenny Carlow TD John McGuinness said Fianna Fáil TD should not vote for Leo Varadkar to become Taoiseach in December unless Micheál Martin agreed he would step down by the next election. But Minister for State Niall Collins described the leadership debate as another serving of nonsense from him. Fianna Fáil rebel turned independent TD Mark McSharry has said the party needs a strong rival to take on Mr Martin. The Sligo TD said it has become a one-man show under the Cork man, who he claims ignored TDs and senators' views. Mr McSharry insisted the next leader must hail from County Dublin. It would also be ironic if Mr McSharry was promoting Darragh O'Brien as a future leader of the country. And finally, the Irish Daily Mirror. We do have some money to spend, it seems, because Irish households spent €49 million on social media and dating sites in 2020. The total household expenditure on digital services was estimated at $896 million in 2020. New data published by the Central Statistics Office shows. At $211 million, video streaming services was the largest category of digital services, followed by online gaming at 137 million. So that would be your PlayStation Plus subscription, the Xbox and the games. Only 15% of the total 138 million went to Irish-based companies supplying digital services, but we spent €49 million on social media sites and on dating sites. I hope it was money well spent in terms of finding the love of your life or whatever it might be. Okay, that was a run-through of the newspapers for this morning. Let's take a quick break and get our first guest lined up on the show for you.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Want unbeatable value from Sky? Here's the deal. Get Sky Broadband for just €29 a month, plus Sky Q for only €10 a month. Super fast, super reliable broadband. And Sky Q with your apps and recordings. That's Sky Broadband for €29 a month, plus Sky Q for €10 a month for 12 months. Now that is unbeatable value. Go to sky.ie. Availability subject to location. Offer does not include Sky TV subscription. New Sky customers only. Setup fees, minimum term and further terms apply. For more info, see sky.ie/speeds.
Beat the cost of Brexit with no customs charges. Do you need a UK address for your limited company or personal use? Space Hub in Derry can provide you with your own mailbox. Have your post and parcels delivered to Space Hub and collect at your convenience. There's brand new 20-foot shipping containers now in stock, ideal for all your storage needs at our Springtown and Coolmore depots. Find us on Facebook at spacehubderry.com or call 04871 878077 for more details.
It's time to upgrade. Remember, when upgrading, even a few years, you're looking at better fuel efficiency and enhanced safety features. With the largest selection of pre-owned vehicles available in Donegal, at iMotors, we are confident we have your next car. All of our cars come with up to 12-month warranty. Call into us in Letterkenny or Malin, or check out imotors.ie.
We love summer at Dunnes Stores, with 20 varieties of fruits and vegetables, all only 49 cents each every week. Think creamy avocados for delicious guacamole, zingy passion fruit on refreshing yogurt, crunchy peppers in vibrant salads, courgettes spun into spaghetti, and skewers packed with flavoursome veggies. Plus, with our 10/50 grocery voucher, you save even more, which means every trip to Dunnes Stores means better value. Dunnes Stores, always better value.
Now, a new junior cert curriculum will see pornography studied in the classroom for the first time in Ireland following a major review of relationships and sexual education. A revamp for the teaching of young teenagers to be published today may prove controversial among some parents. The draft curriculum will tackle pornography with reference to the online world and sharing of sexual images. It will also deal with consent and gender stereotyping. Right, okay. Liam Mulligan joins us on the programme now to discuss this. Good morning, Liam.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I am doing fine. And I'm sorry, I'm sending you an image of yourself, but it's just a technical issue I'm having at the moment. Okay. Listen, what do you think of these proposals? Let me just say from the get-go, right? Young fellas are growing up with and young girls as well, I think, are growing up with a very unrealistic expectation of themselves because they are watching porn. Many of them are watching pornography, and unfortunately, that is how they're forming their views as to what is expected of them, or maybe what is expected of a partner. So if it's done in an appropriate way at an appropriate age, I think it's no harm. Maybe if parents aren't doing it for certain conversations to be happening in a classroom. Is that your view, or are you of a completely different view?
First of all, there's two sides to it. One is the question of the availability of pornography, which the government could do, and the ISPs could do something about to make it a bit more difficult to get access to it. The other side is, what are they actually going to do? Our problem is trying to find out what is actually in this course. When they started this a few years ago, they had a plan pre-COVID to bring it in immediately. There was exactly zero curriculum content in the consultation document. When somebody found curriculum content in a reference document, a document regarded as a reference, mentioned in the actual document produced by the department, and found very inappropriate material in that document, then they were accused of lying. That makes us a little bit uncertain about what the Department of Education is actually doing with this and what is in it. And I've actually opened the document myself, and there's a lot more than was in the document 3 or 4 years ago, but it's about 10, 12 headlines. And the document, even the title of the document that they've issued, is a short course curriculum specification for a consultation. Yes. There's still no curriculum content for us to consult on. We don't know how they're going to do it, whether it's age appropriate, and whether the method of doing the education is appropriate. So there's nothing to consult on. That's the problem with that.
And who do you think?
We don't know how they're going to do it.
And I mean, like, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what's in the maths curriculum. I don't know what's in the English curriculum. I don't know what's in the geography curriculum. I don't know what's in the history curriculum. And I expect I won't know what's in this curriculum that covers this element. Like, why do you want to, and this is no disrespect to you, but, I think myself and yourself, we're a lot older really than the people this is targeted at. Yeah. Like, what do you want to do with that information? Like, why do you want to know?
Okay, no, but partly it's to do with the public discussion and the way the department is promoting the material itself. It does not come out and tell you what it's doing in the new maths curriculum. It does not make a whole series of press releases about what it's doing in the maths curriculum. But there's a lot of guff, let's put it bluntly, in what it's saying about this curriculum. So you'd like to know, student-led, maths you mentioned. Are we going to get a student-led curriculum on maths? Is a 14-year-old going to tell us what should be in the maths curriculum for the junior cycle?
What are you afraid that? No. What are you afraid might be included in this? In terms of teaching pornography.
What the element is that there are pressure groups, and there are groups purporting to assist teachers in looking at this very difficult area, which are definitely doing it in an inappropriate format.
So who are those? Who are those groups,
sort
Liam?
of people don't get involved.
What groups are you talking about?
Well, I mean, I'm not the sort of person who takes everything I read in a mainline newspaper and put it off and index it so that I can find it again.
No, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to corner you. I don't want to.
I don't think you are, Greg.
What I'm trying to say is, you're talking about, because to be honest with you, you're looking for transparency on this. I'm just looking for a little bit of transparency on your point of view. Like, as I say, if you don't know, that's fine. I'm not trying to. It's not trying to gotcha, Liam. I'm just saying, like, what type of groups do you think are trying to influence this? And maybe an easier question to ask, to what end? Why do you think there are outside interests trying to influence this? What do you think they're trying to achieve?
Well, I'm going to go through a little bit of history of pedophilia promotion. And if we go back to the 1970s, and this is from The Guardian, there was an organization called the Pedophile Information Exchange. And it was promoting sexual freedom for all, including children. And the National Council of Civil Liberties in the UK, under Harriet Harman, took them under the wings for a couple of years until they copped on and they realized what was going on. And I acknowledge 100% when they copped on, they completely blanked them. They completely excluded them from their promotions. Then we get a very, what would you call him? A very high-profile politician on the continent, Daniel Cohn-Bendit. Now, I know a lot of Greens. I respect what they're trying to do. But Daniel Cohn-Bendit was the joint leader of Greens in the European Parliament of the last European election. He was better known in 1968, when I was a little fella, just about ending primary school, as Danny the Red, as one of the leaders of the student agitation in the Sorbonne in Paris. And he was looking for 19-year-olds to tell professors what should be on their courses in the college, in the university, and that they should have no exams before they got jobs in the civil service, to see that they'd actually learned anything. So in the 80s, he became notorious for writing promotional pieces on pedophilia. It was an article in the Süddeutsche Zeitung. I worked for a German company for many years, so I speak German and I read the German papers on and off. And I happened to come across this article where it reported on his history of writing these articles about living in a commune where toddlers and young children were encouraged to sexual expression. Die Entfaltung der Sexualität des Kindes is the term used, the unfolding of the sexuality.
I appreciate.
These are people are about.
So I appreciate.
If we look now, I'm sorry for having to go into this in a long time.
No, I honestly thought, and this is fine, and I fully respect your point of view. I thought this was going to be a conversation about how you were concerned, maybe that, people could be matured too quickly, or they could end up being too liberal, or maybe not understanding the potential values of But instead, you're saying this is paedophile grooming gangs behind this, effectively.
No, there are paedophile grooming groups or the paedophile promotion groups there. There are other groups that have a feeling of sexual freedom promotion, that these things.
But Liam, you do know, right, that paedophilia, child sexual abuse imagery, next to murder, and for a lot of people beyond murder, these are the most horrific of crimes. We all agree that.
Yes.
Everybody agrees it right across the world. So tell me again, please.
How
would teaching young people that what you see in pornography is not real life, and you shouldn't set your standards or whatever you do on that? Why are you talking about paedophiles?
No, I mean, pornography is only an element of it. But in the pornography, we come back to the pornography. The question is how it is presented and how it is element. This is the detail. I'm looking for detail from the thing. I want to see, because the nature of this particular area of adaptation, previously parents, and this was an item agreed yesterday in the contributions, both from Rebecca and Mary, that this is an item that must be under the discretion of the parents. But now it is being included into a course which is compulsory, where there is no discretion allowed. So how it's done is very important and age appropriate. And that's all we want to know. I wasn't actually going, I'm not.
All I heard you were talking about someone from the 1960s, someone from the 1980s, and paedophile groups, and so that's all I was hearing. Sorry, Liam. Do you know?
But I have to bring the history forward to the moment. You stopped me, Greg. I know why you stopped me. I understand, because it is rather long. But the World Health Organization document for RSE, sexual education in Europe, contains a piece for 5 to 6 year olds that reminded me, when I read it, of what I had read about what Cohn-Bendit had been writing in the 80s. So this stuff doesn't go away. This is not good. Some of the stuff that is being used as reference on the basis of sexual enlightenment, on the basis of sexual freedom, is simply not that. It is something else hiding behind it. And I just want to see what it is. I have not said that this is inappropriate. I have not attacked the department. The only thing I've attacked the department about is the lack of transparency. And unfortunately, when these issues were raised before, the department issued a press release. I think it was Richard Bruton's spats, but it was over Joe McHugh's signature, stating that the people were lying, and all they had done was quote from an actual document referenced in a department document. Mm-hmm. So if they started that, it's a plan not to be transparent.
No, I agree with you. This conversation should be had completely out in the open, 100%, and nothing should be decided unless there is consultation with parents of all different types of views, and that's something agreeable and for the benefit primarily of children is agreed. I get that. I just don't understand why, and I just don't understand why every conversation has to come back to it being about, the most emotive of subjects, because I think I'm not sure that gets us anywhere. But that's your view, and I fully respect it, Liam.
No, I'm not. What do you mean the most emotive? I mean, I'm trying not to be emotive about this. I'm trying to find out what they're going to be teaching my kids.
Yeah, and I would like to know that too.
In an area that's quite important.
And I would like to have some input into it as well.
In our society, let me take an example of the rally weekend. I saw a couple of decals running around at the rally weekend. Clipping ditches, tipping bitches. Collars up, knickers down. These were decals, not just painted amateurly on the cars by the lads themselves. These were decals put onto the cars. We have gone from one unhealthy attitude to sex in our society to a different unhealthy attitude to sex. And I want to see our department, our education, our society working towards a healthy attitude to sex. Can we achieve that? And I just want to get that sort of information, make sure that's the sort of information that my child is getting.
Okay, listen, thanks for that. I appreciate your time, Liam, and I think a lot of people would. I don't know if there's anyone listening to this who doesn't want to know what's going to happen and maybe have some input into it. I think we can all agree on that.
We want a proper consultation document, Greg, with information, not aspirations and headlines. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, of course.
And
all right.
They're still hiding what they're doing. That's the problem.
All right, Liam, I appreciate your time this morning. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Great to chat to you again.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye. Nice one. All right, take care of yourself. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. 086 60 25,000 or call 0749 125,000. Rebecca, a parent spoke for the majority yesterday, and that man today is also making perfect sense. What's Greg's problem? I have no problem with it whatsoever. Here we go. It's about the every conversation now has to go to the absolute ultimate extremes, that there are groups in the background, nameless groups by Liam's own admittance there, that have an ulterior motive connected in some way or other to paedophilia. Is that genuinely what the majority of people out there are concerned about? Or is it maybe some of the stuff I was talking about in the lead into that conversation? But it's open to debate. 08660 25,000. Right, okay. Where are we? I think the politicians should be cold, help the climate change. Well, that's, I understand, hopefully you're that's a tongue-in-cheek comment. I really do hope that. In terms of the cashless society, the move to a cashless society is the most heinous power grab in the history of the Republic. Banks not satisfied with charging you to put money in your account, take money out of your account, or keeping it in your account. They're trying to grab all the money in the country. Money in our bank accounts is really on the bank's books. Cash in your pockets, purse, or cash registers is not. The banks are trying to force us to give it to them. It's not about tax. Some of the most successful banks don't deal in any cash at all, though, and people have flocked to them of their own accord. But keep your views coming in, because it's an education as we go. Cash is legal tender. So why are certain banks and shops allowed to refuse accepting it? Is our government going to step in and stop this happening? I think in private... I'm not sure where the obligation is in terms of legal tender to accept it. Donegal County Council need the views of the public on the local property tax. The tax needs to decrease. They should know the dire financial situation people are in after the last local election. The Brave councillors decided to increase it by 15% as if the public were not paying enough tax. The thing is that public consultation happens annually. I'm not sure it makes any difference at all, because it is one of the very, very few decisions that is fully in the hands of your elected representatives. Most other decisions are executive decisions, but that is one that they can, in fact, design. So in yesterday's poll, a revamp of the sex education curriculum is underway and plans to include an awareness of pornography. Do you agree with this? This was our poll, and we put it out to see what parents and whomever could click it thought. On Twitter, actually, it wasn't like unanimous. It was unanimous, but it wasn't as high as I thought it might be. On Twitter, 65.2% of you said yes, a revamp of the sex education curriculum underway should include an awareness of pornography. On Instagram, 80% of you believe that's the case. But you know what would be an interesting question? I don't know if we can do it today or not. Is what level of consultation do you want to have in it? You know, I think there is a distrust of the powers that be, and I think Liam made some very valid points. I'm here to some extent to tease the conversation out and maybe put views from people who are on the phone call to him and vice versa. And Liam knows he's welcome back on any time to further his point. But I think it would be interesting to find out how many of you would actually like to have all the information and an input into it. And then, yes, if you know what I mean. Some of your comments on our polls: offer a course to parents, not their children. No. Another: the children could nearly educate the adults as it is. Knowledge is power, says another. The thing worries me is the level of, in terms of adults, the nature of the pornography that's watched in this country. It's released by some of the big platforms, and what people search for. It's kind of worrying. And then we have the big exposés of how many people in this country would be accessing sites with child sexual abuse images. I think there's a conversation has to be had amongst the adults in this country as well about their attitude to what's right and what's wrong, and as well as sort of having that conversation, extending it down to our younger people as well, perhaps.
In 2018, Toyota cut through the confusion, completely ceasing production of diesel passenger cars, lowering harmful emissions and providing certainty for Irish drivers everywhere. And Kelly's Toyota are proud to be part of that hybrid electric journey. Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles today to see what makes Toyota Ireland's best-selling car brand in 2021 and 2022. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world. Best-selling claim based on most recent monthly figures.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
Give your home a whole new look for less with Foy & Company Summer Sale. Get great value with up to 50% off selected lines across all departments. Redecorate your home with great discounts on display sofas, ready-made cushions and curtains. Breathe new life into your walls with great savings on wallpaper and paint. Don't miss out on fantastic savings in-store and online at the Foy & Company Summer Sale, Letterkenny and Ballybuffet, while stocks last.
The Clonmany Agricultural Show. Entries now being taken until this Friday, the 22nd of July. Entries after this date cannot be accepted. We're now in the last few days of entries to livestock and home industry sections. Entries can be left at Boggs Butchers Malin, McCarran Shop Quigley's Point, G&S Carndonagh and Joyce's Centre Clonmany, or sent by post or email. The Clonmany Agricultural Show, the 2nd of August, a day not to be missed.
Buying or moving home can be a strange mixture of excitement and stress. So the last thing you need is worrying about conveyancing. Time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll move that property transaction along swiftly, make sure everything's in order and prevent any nasty surprises. Residential, commercial, leasing or voluntary transfer, call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. We'll do the paperwork, you do the wallpaper. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help?
Okay, you're welcome back to the programme. Concerns have been raised about the number of planning enforcement notices being issued throughout the county. There are currently 1,198 outstanding enforcement notices, with 291 in Letterkenny, 292 in Inishowen and 257 in Glentees. The rest have been issued in other municipal districts in the county. Councillor Jay McMonigal joins us on the programme now to discuss this. Good morning, Councillor. Thank you for taking the time out this morning.
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to all the listeners.
All right, this is almost 2,000, really, bar the shouting. So what is a planning enforcement notice, really?
Well, it normally happens if someone would make a complaint, or if the planning authority thinks that there's a building not being built according to the planning that was granted. So, you know, it's not to say that all the enforcement cases, that once a complaint is made, a case has to be opened, the file's opened, and then the planning enforcement department and the planning authority follow it up and investigate it. So it was just when we got the Chief Executive's report on Monday. I've been reading through it prior to the meeting, and I just thought there was an inordinate amount of live cases, and I just thought I would ask questions on it. So the Chief Executive has promised to come back to me and with a better explanation and the type of enforcement issues that have been raised and are currently on file.
Yeah, I mean, are we talking, you know, a mobile home, for example, or are we talking a shed that shouldn't be there, or are we talking an extension, or are we talking houses that completely contravene maybe the planning guidelines? Is that the kind of clarity that you're looking for?
Yeah, it could be someone built something as simple as a garden shed, and it's someone has complained about it, that it's in an improper location, or it's blocking their light and it's outside the remit for the planning regulations. It could be that someone hasn't built according to the planning regulations, the style and type of house that planning was granted for. It could be their septic tank could be not in the right place. So there's a number of things that could cover, and then there's people then who unfortunately just tend to begin a development without seeking planning permission, and then look for retention. So once a complaint is made, as I say, a file is opened, and then it has to be investigated, and it's very time consuming, and we have seen for a long time, and we always said that there was a problem with the resourcing of the enforcement side of planning for years, when there was multiple applications and developments going on. But even now, and there wouldn't have been as many as there had been in recent years, although they're rising, but we still don't seem to have adequate resources or staff in the enforcement department. And I think these figures would suggest that we would need more.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know how many are opened last year or the year before, and how many were closed. Maybe people feel that enforcement lacks teeth in this county, and sure, you just ignore the letters or whatever it might be. Like, as I say, these are questions that we kind of need answers to, aren't they?
Yeah, well, if we look at the figures from to June this year, in Letterkenny, it's saying that there was 35 opened, and that 21 was closed.
Right.
But it's not suggesting, or it's not saying, or clarifying, is that 21 of the 35 that was opened, or is that just 21 from a previous year or other? But I know myself, and being involved in following up and making representations on behalf of some of the people who have made some complaints, that it takes an inordinate amount of time. There's an awful lot of paperwork, and inspections have to go into establishing is a development exempt or not in compliance. So
yeah, and also too, from those who might receive a notice, maybe they want to dispute it, or and they're getting tied up in a process that obviously is going to be stressful. So there's a few sides to this. It'd be interesting to see what resources might be needed, though, to start making some headway on the almost 2,000 outstanding enforcement notices.
Well, that's where I'm coming from, Greg. It's about looking to get more resources into our planning department, and in particular around these enforcement cases. There's an awful lot of stuff going on at the minute, and there's been new regulations brought in recently around helping to promote the housing for all, around exemption for development, and that's causing problems because people aren't aware of it, and people are taking advantage of this, but they're maybe not complying with the protocol that's set down. Even though it's exempt from planning, there still is procedures that you have to go through, and forms, etc., that you must submit before you begin development. But unfortunately, some people aren't doing that, and they're just starting the development, and that's causing an angst, and it's also causing problems then for the enforcement unit and the council.
All right, we'll watch on with the interest. €3,000 per session to sit at the Aura Leisure Centre. Do you think that's good value for money? And why are you still at Aura and not back at Lifford, Councillor?
Yeah, look, it's we would all like to be back at Lifford. I don't know any of the councillors that don't. We've requested in recent times to go back. Obviously, COVID hasn't gone away, as they say. It's still very much there, and that's a concern for the council, the council officials, staff, and indeed members. But we have that hybrid option, and if members are not happy or just maybe unsure yet of coming back in this small compact area that Lifford is, then they can avail of online. But look, I would like to see us back at Lifford. I think it makes for better meetings, and it's the seat of power for the local authority, and and also like to free up the Aura for what it's was built in its purpose, and that's to provide social and sporting outlets for the wider community here in Letterkenny and Donegal.
So, as it stands, the feeling is the reason why some of these meetings are still taking place in the Aura is because of concerns over COVID?
Yeah, a lot of it is that there. The main is thought in that there would be that. But as I say, for quite a while, councillors have been asking and requesting that we would consider going back to Lifford. As you know yourself, Greg, Lifford's a very small chamber. It's very compact, and trying to get the press, the elected members, and have a facility
it's tight,
for the
it
public.
is tight there.
It's very tight yet, So, look, it would be ideal to be back there, and hopefully we'll be back there soon. But until then, we're going to have to stay at the Aura, and it's the only facility that's available to us and big enough to host the meetings.
All right, listen, thank you for that. I appreciate your time this morning. Councillor Jerry McMonigal there. 086 60 25,000, your WhatsApps and texts to that number. Already this morning, of course, some of you messaging in. This is going to happen in every bank. It's called the Great Reset of the world, so that all the governments know what you spend every penny on. I say they have a fair idea already, but that was laid out in the Project 2030, the UN document. I was reading through it there the other day. A bad idea for society to go cashless. Hope this won't be allowed. What is wrong with people, says a caller. I remember 50 years ago the tar melting on the roads with the heat. Now, that was 50 years ago. Grow up, people. But you see, the problem is that we all remember that. But the heat that was witnessed further south of us, not in Ireland, but particularly in England, is a prolonged heat, much far beyond you would have experienced 50 years ago, because it was record temperatures. Again, it's fantastic, and this is kind of feels a wee bit like the previous conversations we've had. It's great if you've got aircon or if you're a healthy, maybe younger person, but that's not for everyone. Everyone isn't. Right, okay. Pierce, good morning to you. How are you getting on?
I'm very good, Greg, and yourself?
I'm okay. I'm all right. You believe we're backwards when it comes to talking about sex?
Well, I think, yeah, when we're talking about sex in Ireland, or even on anything when it comes to youthful development, I think we're very backward to the rest of Europe. Like, if you take it, say the alcohol laws are what they are here, but say in Europe, most of Europe, they allow their children, say, to have a glass of wine or whatever with their meals. And then when it comes to sex, like, sex education in Europe is taught even pre-puberty, and they basically know everything about sex by the time they even have puberty. Here we seem to be, we're still stuck in a, I'm going to say we're still a very right-wing religious country, even though we pretend not to be.
But we do have to have a conversation, do we not, about how we talk to younger people about sex? I mean, I think that's really what that's what's needed. That's what's being called for. It's not to say, look, don't talk about it, because we all, depending on your age, in school dances, you know, you weren't allowed to stand anywhere near the person you were dancing with. They'd come and say, leave some space for the Holy Spirit. Things were very different then. But I think what people, though, what they want an input. Parents want an input as to what will be talked about.
But I think the problem is with the parents themselves, because I think it's the parents that would need to be taught first, because they don't know how to approach a subject, as you said, because that's the way they were brought up. I think it's the parents that would probably need to be taught before the children would be.
Yeah. I think if we get the conversation out into the open and everyone feels they have an input, maybe parents will get an education along the way. They might be a bit more comfortable with it if they know what might be discussed, or if they have some input into it. I think that's the way it's gonna. That's the future, Pierce. That maybe that's the way it should be.
I just think a lot of parents are probably, well, it's new on them to start with, because they weren't taught this in their day. They're probably scared, a lot of them. I can understand that. But as I said, it's just a society in general. We seem to be so backward in every outlook compared to the rest of Europe.
Right. Okay. Listen.
So that's just my opinion.
No, and yours is as valid as everybody else's, and that's why we invited you on to outline your text, and it's very much appreciated. All right, Pierce.
That's grand, Craig. Thank you very, very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. That's Pierce's point of view. 08660 25,000 is your WhatsApp and texts number.
The Jive Time show is coming live from Creasler this Thursday to celebrate Creasler Supermarket becoming the 100th branded nearby store. We have vouchers, in-store promotions, free nearby goodie bags and free kids goodie bags filled with treats, all to give away on the day, plus the usual great music and chat. So come along and join us this Thursday from 2:30 p.m. at the new nearby Creasler Supermarket.
Sheridan Security now introducing Zero Wire Smart Alarm Systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Inishowen Credit Union has recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call any of their 4 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Inishowen Credit Union, Buncrana, Carndonagh, Moville and Muff, supporting local farmers. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
If you're thinking of changing some furniture, a huge sale is now on at McGinley's Furniture in Letterkenny. It's a chance to save hundreds of euros on floor model suites, beds and mattresses, dining and occasional furniture, with reductions in all departments. It's a great opportunity to grab a real bargain in the big sale now on at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny. See mcginleysfurniture.com.
Don't miss the 53rd Clonmany Festival open-air concerts, including Mike Denver on Tuesday the 2nd of August, and on Wednesday the 3rd, it's Derek Ryan. Don't miss these and many more open-air concerts at this year's Clonmany Festival from Sunday the 31st of July to Sunday the 7th of August. For a full programme, log